Hi, everyone. Welcome. You made it to session 12 of our Reignite Learning um, training. And I'm really glad that you've been through all of this. I'm really glad that you're here. I'm really glad that you've been open-minded and learning from all of this. I hope you've been trying it out as well. And of course, always let us know how it's going for you. If you've had some successes, if you had some frustrations, talk about it in the community. We want to know what you're up to. We want to support you. We want to make sure that you and your child are successful in all of this. So yeah, don't just get frustrated and run away. There are ways. We've been through this. We can help you. So I'm happy to be there for you. But before we get started with session 12, I want to follow up on our last assignment, which was to perhaps have a tea party with your kids. Have your child plan that tea party or have your children plan a holiday party. Let us know how that went. Put that in our community and share that out. Okay, so let me go ahead and share my screen. So today's session is about empowering lifelong learners, right? What it means to um, put it all together and make it real meaningful and part of an everyday life. So just to review, so we have the 5 steps of the reignite learning system, right? The kindling is the themes where we build everything on top of these year-long themes to make it interesting and fun. Step 2 is the sparks, where we have the opportunity to make discoveries with our children, and the this is it, and discovery is just another word for research. It's going out to the world, it's touching real things, and asking lots of questions. Step 3 is fireworks, which is engaging projects that you can do with your child or your child does on their own. Step 4 is the fuel, reading, writing, and math that underpins everything and gives the fuel to make all of it possible. And step 5 is the bonfire. And this is once the children have taken an interest in the learning and they're just running with it, and it's been ignited, and their genius, their personal interests and abilities have just been exaggerated and just elaborated and expanded. And so it's a wonderful thing. And then of course after all of that, you have the opportunity to celebrate all of the accomplishments, which is wonderful. And so I hope you've had a chance to try all of those steps, including the celebrations. So, I also wanted to go over a little bit about the fireworks, the downloadable fireworks. So the downloadable fireworks have the theme already built, and these are actually written by a credentialed teacher, and she makes sure that throughout the year the fireworks include all of the concepts that a child would be introduced to in a school year. So if you're afraid of missing things, you don't have to. I mean, and really, my opinion, of course, is that you don't have to do all of the things that all the other kids are doing. But if that is your concern, just do all the fireworks and you'll have a lot of fun and you'll touch on all of those concepts. Um, and those are available for download in our it's in the what's it called? Um, well, anyway, you'll find it. There, we have links to those downloadable fireworks, and so it becomes really rich experience for your child, as meaningful as possible, with the ideas that hopefully will help to ignite that genius for your child and help them just really want to be an avid learner. Fireworks, kind of building from one week to the next throughout the year. Try out some things. Let your child choose some things, and let your child adapt some things. You might not actually do everything as it shows in the suggestions, but your child might be like, "Oh yeah, but what if we do this instead?" Go ahead. If it's something that excites them and it's a good experience for them, let them go ahead and adapt and change and do those things that get them excited and their eyes light up. So I want to talk a little bit now about screens and the role that screens play for a learning child. These two cute kids are doing something that's very typical for kids of their age, which is, I mean, they're sitting on the couch on tablets. When I was a kid, the only reason why a kid would sit on the couch that long was either they're watching TV or they were sick, right? These screens basically they keep a child still and satisfied for longer than they normally would if they were a healthy child. So I don't think that a child sitting for too long on screens is a healthy way to go. And that's why I advocate against online learning, 100% online learning. But I know there are opportunities for children to learn online, and also, I'm not saying never do it, but also there are some things that your child can do that that are wonderful learning experiences, and also things that they can create and design and build online. So it's I'm not a purist. I'm not saying don't let your child ever touch screens, but I want to share this graphic with you. It's very telling because a lot of times people feel like some people are like you can't ever let them have it. Some other people are like, oh, just whatever, it helps them keep out of my hair, and so they just let screens be the babysitter. So, I made this. This is not a professional, but this is from my observations of what I've learned, the differences between passion and addiction. Because sometimes kids get really passionate about something and they would get very involved in it, and I want to make sure that that involvement does not turn into addiction, or that is not feeding an addiction. So, on the left is a passion and on the right is addiction. So with a passion helps you feel fulfilled. You feel good about the things that you're doing. With addiction, it leaves you with feelings of guilt. With a passion, if you working on your passion, it motivates you. With an addiction, you feel debilitated. Things it's kind of a downer when you spend too much time with an addiction. With a passion, it's something that you're willing to work for. You're willing to put in a lot of time. You're willing to make sacrifices for, like healthy sacrifices. But with an addiction, a person will hide the use of, like, oh, don't let mom see I'm doing this, or or ourselves. I know hiding that chocolate. Maybe it's an addiction. Anyway, it's something we don't shouldn't necessarily be doing, and that's why we're hiding the use of it. Um, and passion, when we're working on our passion, anything we work on for too long, if you come across some failures or some struggles, some things that are hard. But with a passion, failures are learning experiences. It's something that can actually propel you into something new and something better, and doing better and learning from. And but with an addiction, failures are emotionally challenging. They're draining, they make you feel sick, and it's difficult. Um, with passion, living within your passion, it enhances your lifestyle. With an addiction, it's the opposite, and even more, it can harm relationships. It can cause a lot of conflict and tear relationships apart even. So that's just again, that's my observations. Feel free to make your own chart and make these observations. I think that it's really important. I had a friend once that shared with me about how she let her children play on screens as much as they wanted. She went through this radical unschooling phase, and she let her children do whatever they want. They spent majority of their time on screens. And she just kind of saw them change. She wasn't really liking the direction that they were going in life, and they were kids, right? But she decided that she was going to go cold turkey, and they were off screens. But what's interesting, and that was hard. Again, that it was very emotional, and they were upset. There was a lot of really difficult times that they went through. But it took about 2 weeks before they finally forgot about screens, and then they returned to playing like kids should be playing. They were building castles out of soup cans, and getting very creative and playing with each other and enjoying one another and doing more creative outlets and more healthier outlets is how she saw it. And she told me the story and she was just really happy that she took the screens away. She probably by now, I mean, they're adults by now, but so they do have a relationship with screens, but it's not something that's keeping them down. So, um, also, what are the screens good for? Because like I said, I'm not a purist. I'm not saying don't let them ever, because they screens and the internet are part of our real world that we live in. And it's something that I'm not saying that they have to learn as children because I know they could learn at any time. I mean, look at us as adults. A lot of us adults at my age, we did not grow up with the internet and computers, but yet of course we can learn. Your children can learn as well, even if you keep them from computers. But it give computers and screens give them the opportunity to do some things that can be very helpful, such as doing some research through the internet. Writing. Some children do better writing on a keyboard than they do with a pencil and paper. Creating. There are many different ways to create things online. It can be a very creative outlet. I've seen math games. There's a lot of different math apps and games that are great because they, like any game, right? It's a gamification where it helps move them forward as they are ready and hold them back when they need to repeat something. Um, Not that it's holding them back, but it's something. It moves them forward as they are ready, and actually, many times it moves them forward quicker than if they were in a classroom because they don't have to wait for the rest of the class. And of course, there are many reasons to that you can let your children have screen time, but one of my favorites is visiting grandparents, right? I have a friend who is a grandma, and her kids live a couple hours away, but she reads stories to them. She reads to them in the evenings, and I think that's wonderful. So that's a wonderful use of screens. Seems like there's something else I was going to say. I can't remember right now. But let me move on to weekly schedule. I want to point out that your schedule does not, you do not need to overschedule. I want you to keep it simple. I want it to be um, a, an easy part of your life that helping your children learn. And I went ahead and put on this schedule a the 5 steps of the Reignite Learning System so we can point those out. So step number 1 is the theme. And when my kids were young, we always did the theme on Monday. We would introduce the theme, the topic for the week on Monday. So, and a lot of times that included different reading, writing, math, science, social studies, these activities. We actually did it in classes. I used to run classes, and so my kids had the opportunity, and many other kids had the opportunity to be introduced to the weekly topic through fun, interactive, collaborative um, a class with their kids, and that was a lot of fun. But there are many ways you can introduce a topic. One way is through step 2, which is going on adventures. You can actually do a field trip to introduce the topic for a week. Find a place that um, complements the topic and just go spend some time there and touch and see the real thing. Step 3 is fireworks. And that's this little projects that you do, the short-term projects that you can do. Um, and I scheduled fireworks for 4 days of the week. Then step 4 is reading, writing, and math. I put reading every day because it should be part of like everyday habits, right? To be reading. I also included 3 days. I put on Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday to do some writing and math activities. And those can also be the same things that are in the fireworks. Just I pull them out because we want to be sure that we're touching on those regularly. Um, and you probably will be if you're doing the fireworks. So then step 5 is personal genius. That includes long-term projects. That is the rabbit holes that your kids go down. And if you'll notice, I kind of made it how energy goes throughout the day, or at least my energy, where the morning starts and you're ambitious and you get a lot done in the morning. Then I put reading at 1 o'clock. So, like for example, if you're a kids or you have a younger children who are taking naps, and then while during nap time you can read to your older children. It's a great time to have some restful, quiet time. Then after nap time, it's a great time for kids to be experiencing their personal genius. They might be going off to after school time classes. They might be working on something that's a bigger project that you're going to drag out, and you can have it out for all afternoon. This kind of thing. And of course, the last thing after the 5 steps is celebrating. Sometimes I will write into our weekly schedule these weekly celebrations, which are very small. And you don't need to invite the family over or anything, but it's a time to reconnect with your kid and just go over the past week and the things that they did. Decide which work they you might want to keep and save for the 6 week celebration at the end of the component. This kind of thing, just kind of touching base and checking in and seeing how they're doing, and reassessing, and maybe even planning the upcoming week. So it sounds like a lot, but based on this schedule, it's really not. You don't have to do fireworks for a whole hour. You can do 15 minutes of fireworks and the child is satisfied. You can do 10 minutes of math. You can do half hour writing if they feel like it. All of these things. The point, I don't want to bog you down. I don't want you to say your child is going to start at 10 a.m. and go until 3 p.m. doing schoolwork. That is not at all what I'm saying. What I'm saying is it's not look at, I'm saying look at all the empty spaces. Look at all the space there is for flexibility, for exploring, for just having downtime, which I feel is very important that children do have a lot of downtime. And actually, I have a word. Oh, because it's important for children to have the opportunity to play. I have a quote I want to read. Einstein it said, "If you want your children to be intelligent, read them fairy tales. If you want them to be more intelligent, read them more fairy tales." How do you like that? So, and then because he knows that imagination and play is what fuels the questions and the trying and the wanting to do things, and the creativity. So we want to make sure that our children are not structured all day long. They need to have the downtime. They need to have opportunity to play. And of course, we often call it recreation. And I'm going to um, I call it rec time for short, but recreation, some people call it, they say it just slightly different and call it recreation, right? It's getting back to yourself. It's getting back to who you are and what your individual needs are. And for children, that involves an awful lot of play. But I shorten it to rec time. And I have these activities that your child can do on their own, and if you want to participate, that's fine. But um R stands for read and research. E stands for explore, express, experiment, exercise, and C stands for create. These are all things that children of my generation and before would do naturally, because that we didn't have things that were distracting us and taking us away and spending all of our days, right? We would read on our own because we enjoyed it. We explored, we did experiments, we ran around the neighborhood, and we created things because we enjoyed doing it. These are the types of activities that your children can be doing that are all counting as education, even if you don't plan it, even if it's not on the schedule. This is your child's recreation time and an opportunity for them to know themselves and to create things independent of you. Um, I also want to introduce the pyramid of possibilities. In the pyramid itself, you see the 3 R's: reading, writing, and math, and there's fireworks and there's adventures. All of these things are things that you do to help your children, to advance in their learning. But beyond that, there is the genius where they're taking control and they're researching and learning and growing on their own time because they want to, and there's rec time. So all of these things in the pyramid, with the things you do with them for their learning experiences at the top, and the things down at the bottom with their rec time and that representing life. And the thing is, all of these things are going to start to blend together, even though you're being very you're scheduling out and planning certain learning opportunities. The point of that is to ignite that genius, is to get them on that path of wanting to learn and wanting to know and wanting to do, right? And so then learning and life actually all blend together, and it becomes one wonderful experience where you don't even realize, your children don't realize they're learning, and it just becomes part of life, and they want to do it more and more because that's what your family does, that's what you do together, the experiences you have together, the things you enjoy together, and them of course on their own time as well. It's wonderful. I want to share this story. um a short story. One time, we were on a drive, one of our field trips. And it was a little bit farther away. We were going up into a nearby mountain. And as we were flying through an entire butterfly migration. And these butterflies, I mean, just like coming at us. And, some of them were hitting our windshield, and it was like, oh, we're sad for these butterflies. And my son, he was a little bit older by then. He was in the passenger seat, and he just started asking all of these questions. And this was before internet. This was before smartphones. He was asking all of these questions. And he was just like, sometimes I just wish there was a button I could push and I can have all of my questions answered. And of course, now we do have that. We have that. All of us have phones, and we have the opportunity to answer all of these questions, to satisfy all their curiosities in just a moment, right? Even as you're driving down the highway, smashing butterflies on your windshield, we never did know what kinds of butterflies they were, or why they were migrating at that time, and where they're going and where they're coming from. All of these questions can be answered now, and with practically just the touch of a button. So I also want to share another experience that we had together as a family. We got interested in learning about LED lights. My kids were very STEM focused. I mean, it wasn't even called STEM when they were little, but they really liked to learn a lot about science and sciencey type of things. And LED lights were kind of a new phenomenon. And we were learning all about how they're actually not light bulbs, they're a light emitting diode. They're diodes, right? So we were learning about that, and about how they can be strung together in a board, and you give them power and they turn on. And we were also curious about LED signs, and those were brand new at the time, and we'd seen some around town, but they're all so high. We wanted to observe one close, and one time we were driving down the street, and we saw an LED sign that was on the ground. It was just like that's where it was built. It was right there on the ground in front of a college. But we had to pull over. We pulled into that college parking lot. We went over to that sign. We put our faces right up against that sign, and we looked at that LED sign. It was interesting because it was made up of three colors: red, yellow, and green. There were no blue LED lights in that sign. I think at the time blue was too expensive or something, and it was clusters of four bulbs at a time. And I can't remember which bulb was twice. It might have been the yellow. I don't remember. But then you step back and you see this wonderful moving, full color picture from just those three colors, when we look up close. It was amazing. And we all enjoyed learning just from the real thing after all of our discussions about LED lights and their capabilities. And then we went and saw and touched and experienced the real thing in real life. And that's the types of experience. And it's not something that we planned, because we just saw it and we stopped, right? It's not something that anyone even asked for. It was more serendipity, but we took that chance. We took that opportunity. We made it something that was a memorable experience at the spur of a moment. I guess we weren't in a hurry to get to where we're going. So that's what I want you to remember, that life is learning, learning is life, and it can happen anywhere. It should happen everywhere. It's all part of existing and learning and growing together as a family, and it's wonderful. So, and I'm sure you have lots of questions. There are so many things I could share. There are so many things we could talk about. I want you to go ahead and put all of your questions in the questions topic in our community. We're also going to be, from time to time, we'll do an Ask Me Anything session where you can come and ask any of your questions that you have, and I can answer them live. And also, we're going to be doing workshops from time to time on specific topics that you might be interested in. You can put those things, those will probably be inspired by the questions that you put in the community. So go ahead again, be sure to put those questions in the community, and we'll hold those workshops and we'll give you the opportunity to learn even more. We want to make sure that you're fully supported. We want to make sure that you have everything you need to be successful, and that your children will be successful, and that your opportunities for you will be everywhere. And I just think you guys are going to have such a great time. This is going to be wonderful for you and your kids. And so I'm just so happy for you. And I'm so glad you've been here. And I'm so glad for all of the stuff that you're going to be doing. And I look forward to all of it. All right. But one more thing before we go, let me pull this down. Um, I you're not getting out of an assignment today. You still have an assignment. Your assignment is for you to design your next 6 weeks, your theme, your topics, what you're going to be doing with your children for the next 6 weeks. And also, of course, as always, share your successes, share your plans, share your questions in our community. We look forward to hearing from you and all of the wonderful things that you and your children will do. And I'll see you at the next workshop. Okay, bye.